Hello everyone, Daniel Levis here. Welcome to tonight's webinar entitled How to Develop Mental Toughness and an Unbeatable Mind. And my special guest tonight is Mr. Mark Devine, and Mark is going to deliver a very special presentation in which he will be sharing secrets of Navy SEAL mental toughness and how to develop a warrior offensive mindset. Secrets Mark has been teaching for many years to special operations forces, corporate executives, and elite athletes from around the world. Now, a few words of introduction before Mark gets underway with his presentation. He was 26 years old when he graduated as honor man, which, as I understand it, means #1 ranked trainee of his Navy SEAL Basic Underwater Demolition class. I love that. Mark served 9 years in active duty and in the reserves for another 11 years, retiring at the rank of commander last year in 2011. After leaving active Marine duty in 1997, Mark started up NavySeals.com, which remains the leading website for gear and information about the SEALs. He then went on to form U.S. Tactical, gaining contracts from Naval Special Warfare Group 1 for training support, and also the Navy Recruiting Command for a nationwide mentoring program. Mark was recalled to active duty in 2004, and he went off to Baghdad with SEAL Team 1 to conduct a special project for Naval Special Warfare Command. In 2007, he launched a CrossFit affiliate, fitness based on the pursuit of function, not form, on measurements of performance, not anatomy. He also formed the now internationally known SEAL Fit program to provide transformational personal and team training experiences. Now, Mark's training utilizes an integrated warrior development model that he has developed, and it's called Unbeatable Mind. And this draws from his 20 years as a SEAL and business leader, 25 years as a martial artist, and 15 years as a yoga practitioner. Warrior yoga, Mark calls it. So you are learning from somebody with formidable experiences and accomplishments. And the reason that I've invited Mark here to deliver this presentation tonight is because I know that in working with many of you, and also in applying myself to the same types of tasks that you're involved with, marketing a business and building a business, that mental toughness and an unbeatable mind are as important, if not more so, than being able to write a great headline or being an email marketing ninja or a content creation commando or any of the other tactical talents that we all work so hard to advance. Now, we may not be operating in life and death situations, but we're certainly operating in fluid environments that are full of rapid change and competition. We succeed when we push ourselves into stressful situations, when we experiment and we try new things that don't always go according to plan, when we take calculated risks that can put us in precarious situations, when we face and overcome our fears, our self-doubts and uncertainties, and force ourselves out of our comfort zones and into new experiences that are foreign and frightening. And that demands a certain amount of mental toughness, self-discipline, self-mastery. So I figured, hey, why not learn these things from somebody who has tested them in ways that most of us never will on the battlefield. Now, since Mark has been there and done that, who better to help us to develop the mental toughness to sustain prolonged, focused action toward worthwhile business goals? Who better to help us win in the mind first by weeding our mental garden before planting the seeds of creation in the field? Who better to help us eradicate the negative while cultivating supporting belief systems and empowering habits? Who better to help us unleash our warrior spirit and multiply our drive, tenacity, and disciplined determination so that we can win on the battlefield of business? So with that, Mark, I'm going to hand the floor over to you, and I'm going to put on my student hat, and I'm going to join everybody else out there and drink in what you have to say. Welcome to the call.
Well, thank you very much, Daniel, and what an introduction, man. I'm ready to sign up whatever it is you're selling at this point in time. That's fantastic. Very, very cool, and it's an honor to be on your show. I really, really appreciate it. This is fun and great for me to be able to share this information with your community and folks that are working really hard as not unlike me as solopreneurs. I mean, I think I shared with you earlier, I present a big presence, but I've done it really alone and with a very dedicated team of independent contractors and part-timers. And that has served me very well, and I honestly think that is the way of the future. And so that everyone who has that model, stick with it, because you can be much more nimble and adaptable than if you try to build a more rigid structure around what you're doing. And so even as a multi-million-dollar business, I do not intend by any form to rigidize that structure and grow employees and get all stuck like that. So anyways, so I think that we're going to have a really interesting conversation. Now, keep in mind, I tell this story and these principles from the perspective of a Navy SEAL. I have 20 years of experience, as Daniel mentioned, 9 years of active duty and 11 of reserve time. All of that as a leader, officers in the SEAL teams, you've got to walk your talk, and you've got to essentially do everything alongside your enlisted community, but you're held to a higher standard. And you're meant to be leaders. You're expected to lead and solve problems and to be on the kind of pointy edge of the spear. And there's very few of us. For those of you internationally who aren't really too familiar with the SEALs, the force is only 2,000. It's slightly fewer than 2,000 people, but we pack a mean punch. And it's really largely based upon the things that we're going to talk about today. How do we train to have a unbeatable mind as individuals and teams? How do we attract the right people and cultivate them onto the team and enculturate them onto the team and ensure that that team really dominates and can't fail in the traditional sense of that word. So I'm also a businessman, though, and I've been involved in multiple businesses since getting off active duty in '97. To include my first business being a microbrewery. What a nightmare that was. Holy cow. I mean, very, very difficult business to be in, and every day was like putting on a musical, but, one where a lot of beer was being drunk, and it was pretty interesting, but I consider that my MBA in entrepreneurship, and I sold my interest to my partners in 2007, or 2001, I'm sorry, and then went on to really focus my efforts on NavySeals.com. Also, in between that time, I was an interim CEO for a software company, and we got them venture financed with, I think, $6 million from El Dorado Ventures. And then after my 2004 recall to active duty that Andrew referenced, I came back in 2005 with a different perspective. Being in combat really forces you to just get very, very clear about your goals and your passion and your purpose. And so I came back and said, I really want to just train people and teach people some of these things that I've learned around leadership and mental toughness. And that's when I started the beginnings of SEALFit. And we launched our SEALFit Training Center in 2007 alongside our CrossFit affiliate. And we have a 13,000 square foot training center here in Encinitas, California, and we train people from all over the world in a variety of programs, but they all have the same kind of secret sauce, I call it, the unbeatable mind philosophy that I've ferreted out over the years, which is a combination of what I observed as a leader in the SEAL teams, as well as a lot of the tactics and techniques that I learned through 25 years of martial arts and a variety of different martial arts, in particular some that really got deep into strategy like ninjutsu and the mental side of things. And then very interestingly from about 15 years of yoga. And so I'm sure we have yoga practitioners on the call, and they'll nod when I bring up yoga, but most people are like, well, what's a Navy SEAL doing teaching yoga? But yoga is a warrior tradition art, and it's very, very potent for forging, a clear mind and allowing us to really focus and develop, that mental toughness. And so a combination of what I call my 5 mountains of physical development, physical training, mental toughness and mental control, emotional development, emotional control, intuition awareness and developing your warrior spirit. So physical, mental, emotional, intuition, and warrior spirit form, the foundation for what we train in the Unbeatable Mind program. So with that said, let us look at this concept of winning in the mind and how to forge an unbeatable mind. There's a great Sun Tzu quote, and I think it goes something like, a victorious warrior wins in his mind before he even thinks of stepping foot onto the battlefield. And that's really what I call the first premise of mental toughness, and it sounds so simple, and it is, but it's not easy. And so the question then is, how do we win in the mind? I mean,